immigration. Just a stone's throw from here, we have a detention center that has families in it. And it was 15 families, I think I read this week that we're up to 35 now, being held there for more than 2 years, moms and their kids seeking safety from violence from the MS-13 down south of the border.
Right.
A 16-year-old threatened to trying to be recruited into the gangs, threatened mom to be raped and killed. They're over here for 2 years now, and nothing's being done. Reform, the process has to be expedited and more fair.
Yes.
And what are you going? Can we count on you to do anything about this as far as legislation and reform?
Yeah, so it's a good question. There's a lot of different parts to immigration reform. I think number one, when the president talks about building a wall, I don't know whether that's metaphoric or whether that's literal. I actually think that he intends it to be literal.
Yes.
But if you talk to my friend Will Hurd, who is a former CIA agent, he's a member of Congress, second term, he has the largest stretch of the border in Texas. I think it's like 800 miles. He will tell you the most effective way to secure the border is through drones and through infrared and other type technological preventive techniques. And you do have to stem the tide of folks coming across the southern border. That's number one. Your question with the issue over here, I don't want to speak too much on that because I only know what I read in the Reading Eagle. I know it's a sensitive issue, particularly right around here, but I do want to speak on a couple other points relative to immigration. Our immigration system is broken, and when you look at, there are a lot of people here on expired visas that are job creators. There are a lot of people here on expired visas that then have to go home to come right back here, and the agricultural community around here and in southern Chester County and across this country literally would not be able to survive without the agricultural visas. And yet the way that the system is designed, to date, Republicans have been kind of scared to touch on that issue. Because instead of dealing with these issues one-on-one, everybody wants to see comprehensive immigration. And then the issue there is, what do you do with the children of those who came here illegally, right? Who have been here their whole lives. And because that issue hangs out there and is a very touchy issue and hits on a lot of philosophical and moral dimensions, we don't deal with all the other issues which only become exacerbated year after year after year. Does that address some of what you said?
My concern is, I'll just make this statement,
Yep.
I think it's unfair the way we're treating these people. We're all generational immigrants.
Sure.
If you will. And it's unfair and it's un-American, and I'd like to see a change in that, not necessarily a wall, but to expedite the process of people who are seeking
that are here.
safety.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Hi, my name is Bethany. First of all, I'd like
Indivisible Berks even has buttons.
We do.
All right, you guys got it going on up here.
But one of the things, I'd like to thank you for your healthcare vote to keep the ACA. For me, the ACA allowed me to get, I have pre-existing conditions, allowed me to get healthcare insurance, which actually, we were thinking about it the other day, I'm also a full-time college student. Without the ACA and me being able to purchase those medical insurance, I could not be enrolled in school because you're required as a student to maintain health insurance. But that's not my question, I just wanted to make that statement for you. One of the things I'm really concerned about is the administration's denial of good, concrete, scientific foundations for the decision-making policies, especially concerning the environment. Environmental protections. A lot of us in this room, you and I, we have only grown up with the EPA and only grown up with good environmental protections. And I'm really concerned about what will happen if we start repealing some of those. I just did a paper on the 1990 Clean Air Act amendments where we're getting a 4-to-1 benefit to cost ratio because of we have less smog and we have less acid deposition that is hurting our roads and hurting the paint on our car and things like that.
Sea level.
Rising sea levels, all those things are really concerning. So my question to you is, Is your intent to really push for those sort of strong scientific policy bases? And
Well,
can I help you with that?
well, look, I mean, in the environmental realm, it has to be based on science. And I also think one area, as I view it, and sometimes if you look at my environmental votes, to me, some of it has to be, well, all of it has to be rooted into. You have to look at the Constitution, and if you look at the 10th Amendment and the issue of preemption, there are times when the Obama administration would look to implement environmental policy, and they didn't care that they told a state how they would have to go about implementing. And that's actually not, you can set standards, but you have to allow different states to comply differently. And so if you look, like when they did their existing power plant rules, I think a court has either stayed that or found it unconstitutional or some combination thereof. Whereas if you have a new power, like if you're going to build a new power plant tomorrow, right, which these things take like 10 years to license, if you're going to set a new standard for that, fine. Industry knows what they need to comply with. Technology will be able to determine whether or not you can build it. And the capital markets will be able to dictate whether or not it can get financed. But when you're bringing that in, when you're bringing that stuff in after the fact on an existing power plant, I think it's deeply problematic. So that's a big piece of it. And so from an environmental policy perspective, I mean, there was a CRA called the Clean Streams Rule. Well, we already have existing DEP regulations which protect that. So what I don't like to see is when a state agency has jurisdiction and has candidly a better enforcement jurisdictional eye, because it's closer, you don't need the federal government adding another layer on top of that. And what also happens from a permitting perspective on a lot of this stuff is, sometimes it's used to just jam up the ability to get a project approved, particularly with energy, is if you have a set of guidelines, the more you just bring in more alphabet soup agencies for more reviews, that just slows the project up and then you can never get it done. So you can certainly help me, and you're welcome to meet with me to talk more about environmental policy.
Hi.
Came the whole way from Chester County, give him a hand.
Hi, my name's Stephen O'Hanlon. I'm 21 years old, and I'm also concerned about climate change and the environment. About 5 years ago, my older sister Tara died of cancer, and it was one of the hardest things my family and I had gone through, and it left my nephew Nathan without a mom. And one of the hardest things about that was just being totally helpless to do anything about it. And around the world, and right here in your district, climate change and the fossil fuel development like the Mariner East pipeline are taking away the ability of families to protect the ones that they love most. And no family should have to go through what my family did, just so that a handful of rich older men at the top of these oil and gas companies and their lobbyists can make a few extra bucks. So you've taken, I know, thousands of dollars from the oil and gas industry, and you've refused so far to fight alongside your constituents in opposing the Mariner East pipeline and other dangerous fossil fuel infrastructure. So my question for you, Mr. Costello, is who do you represent? Young people like me who are really concerned about our future, or the fossil fuel CEOs and their lobbyists who are bankrolling your campaign? And will you stop voting for bills that give big handouts to them and protect my future?
Okay. So I represent 705,000 constituents in 4 counties. That's who I will hopefully represent. Well, that's who I represent. The issue, I'm going to deal with purely the issue here. Some of what you threw at me, I'm just going to take. When you talk, the Mariner East project was approved, and those projects are approved through FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Some of it is also approved at the state level. As a member of Congress, I don't have any authority to do any of that. And I believe that proposal and the plans and the submittals and the approvals were done before I was even elected to Congress. So I had no role in approving or disapproving that. That's that. I actually didn't agree with the president withdrawing from the Paris Accord. And I would say to you, the reason why is because if you look at the solar industry, which I think GE is investing about $12 billion, solar or wind, but either way, wind. GE is investing $12 billion in the next couple of years in wind. Kansas literally could handle their entire energy needs through wind. Solar, the cost of it has gone down significantly because of the technology associated with it. Natural gas, which some people may, who's against fracking? Okay, we got a couple people against fracking. One of the reasons that our carbon emissions have been reduced from 07 to 17 is because natural gas, which emits a heck of a lot less carbon than coal, has supplanted coal. And so what my position is if you just look at where the marketplace is and the resources that we have, and the resources that are most efficient to bring to the marketplace, you're going to reduce carbon emissions anyway. And so from the Paris Accord perspective, you're going to be able to hit, we're already well on our way to hitting, I believe, the 2022 or 2024 benchmarks. So if you get out of that, then every other country that's in that, when you have American companies competing for those projects, where are those countries going to go? Are they going to come to deal with American companies, or are they going to go elsewhere? We want India buying our technology. We want China buying our technology. We want those manufacturing jobs here. So you either lead or you don't lead. And I got to tell you, some of the other stuff that you said, like, I just call it as I see it, right? Like, and say what you want. Some Republicans don't like what I say about this stuff, right? Some Democrats don't, right? Some Democrats don't like what I say about stuff. But guess what? I educate myself on these issues, and I do what I think is right. And it doesn't matter whether you write me a $1 check, a max out check, or zero. It doesn't matter to me. I do what's right. That's what I was elected to do. I spend too